Virtual Boy Emulation. As some of you have probably heard, Virtual Boy has made its way to the 3DS. Technically, it's been there for a while, but it wasn't good, and there was no 3D. But now, can't you tell? Yeah, this is going to be a fun one because I get to explain to you what something looks like when you can't see it. I mean, you can see this, but can you tell it's 3D? Quick, tell me if it's 3D or not. That's what I thought. So, if you haven't seen my VR video where I just talk about VR in general and what I think about it, I don't know which of these is coming out first, but I just happened to get the Quest 3 when this emulator drops, so it's like perfect timing. I tried to do a video where I played the emulated version of the Virtual Boy on the Quest, but recording VR video it's not easy to do it, where it looks good, and also commentary while gaming is not easy to do. It's not easy to be entertaining while playing something. I get too distracted. But I want to explain my experience with both of these as someone who has never played a Virtual Boy. But let's start with the VR because that's what I did first and also did again today. And the recording ended up looking like this. So this will be some of the B roll that I might include throughout this video. But just right off the bat, it is way better in VR. But that's just because 3D in VR is so much better because you have the eyes separated. On here, you can see the off put of the two eyes. I don't really know how to explain 3D technology, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. So you don't see like any ghosting or anything. There's nothing weird about it. It just looks good. And when you're in VR and it's just all black around you, it looks so much better. It looks even more immersive. Like, for instance, in this game specifically, this little spike ball, this blew my mind when I watched it in VR. I'll throw up the original recording, but I apologize. It looks awful. Another reason why I tried to re-record it, and now we're doing it like this. 30 FPS in VR do not go together. But the spike ball looks so good. This is a 2D sprite on a 3D plane, and it looks so real. When you're playing it in VR, you see it, and it looks like it's actually coming at you. Like what 3D should be. But a lot of 3D, as you've probably experienced, isn't that great. Like in another video, I don't know if it's out yet, but I talk about 3D gaming. I played it on the PS3. I watched a 3D movie. It just was even worse than I remember seeing it in a theater. Playing this in VR was perfection. And it just makes me want an actual Virtual Boy even more. I have a feeling that doing it in a VR headset probably going to be the best experience you can have because this is newer and better. This has about 30 years more technology in it. This is 1995 technology. Well, this is like 2013 technology. I just really want a Virtual Boy. It is up there on my list of things to get. It's just expensive, man. And the games are actually pretty good. Like Jack Bros, which is Shin Megami Tensei. If you didn't know that, that was actually the first game in that series that we got in the States. That is just wild to me because I do not associate Jack Bros with Shin Megami Tensei. I'm amazed that I've said that twice now, and I feel like I did a good job of pronouncing that. Thank you, thank you. And another thing with the Quest is that this is like exactly the control layout you need for Virtual Boy. You have 2 sticks and 2 face buttons on each side, and you've got triggers. You've got these things, but you don't really need these for Virtual Boy. And the Virtual Boy controller looks like this: 2 D-pads, A and B, start and select, and triggers. And this is just perfect. Red Alarm is another game that needs that right stick to move, which also, this game gives me motion sickness. I don't get motion sick, but this isn't so bad. Like the actual gameplay, but the footage of like the intro is awful. It is so much motion. It looks so bad. And if you don't have a nub, you have to use this touchscreen D-pad situation, which I guess is fine. Like it's just a limitation of the 3DS, but it's not great. It's better than nothing. It's just unfortunate, really. because you can't really do C stick and D pad. I don't know how you would do that. I think there's a way where you can use this as a D pad, but then like, I don't know, would this be your A and B? I feel like that would work. I don't know. But then there's other games like Nestor's Funky Bowling, which is a fine bowling game, but it's like, why do you need a bowling game in VR? That's not really the sport I think of when I think of VR. But don't worry, there's not just one bowling game for the Virtual Boy. There's two. So if Nestor isn't funky enough for you, you can go to virtual bowling. There's also virtual fishing that I really don't have any interest in. Mario's Tennis was actually pretty fun. It's really hard, especially for someone like me who has terrible depth perception. Like, it's so bad I have a hard time saying depth. And I have a series called In-Depth Tutorials. This is my first time playing Mario's Tennis on the 3DS. But the key difference here is the ball actually looks like it's flying at you. But in VR, it doesn't really feel like that, which it looks cooler flying at you. But in reality, I just need to see where it's going to land on the field. And it doesn't really give me that depth of field that it gives me in VR, which is a lot more necessary for playing the game. Both emulators are solid emulators. Like, they have good settings, easy to switch games. You got save states. Wait, actually, do you have save states in this? Okay, you don't have save states in this yet, but this is also like a couple days old. And Virtual Boy emulation on VR has been around for a lot longer. I don't know how long it's been, but I'm sure it's been around for a while. Obviously, the $500 headset is going to be a much better experience for something in 3D, especially when this is glassless 3D. But this does a fine job. Like, if you want to experience the 3D effect of Virtual Boy, which is worth it for some of the games. I think some of the games in Virtual Boy are borderline unplayable on a 2D screen. So this is awesome. But I do really hope that this is continued to be worked on, because you can't use the slider to change like the amount of 3D. It's either on or off. That's it. But again, this is early days. I don't even think this is version 1.0 yet. I want to say it was version 0.9, so it's probably still in beta. Like, this just released, and I'm sure it's probably only one or two people working on this, if that. I don't know how you get less than one person working on it, but you know what I mean. And they're not making any money off of this because Nintendo would come after them. If you have a 3DS, you should definitely check it out. I don't see the harm in trying it, because there are a few games on here that are worth playing. Like, Wario Land for the Virtual Boy is awesome. It looks super cool. You're going to beat it in like an hour, but it's pretty cool. Same thing with Jack Bros and that game that gave me motion sickness that was actually kind of cool. There's a boxing game, multiple bowling games, fishing, golf, tennis. Now, this might be a stretch, but being able to use the virtual link port, the link port that was never actually implemented in the real Virtual Boy, but you can use it with some software stuff for Mario Tennis, because there's actually a mode in Mario Tennis. They just never brought it to life because there was never a real Virtual Boy link cable. So that would be cool to see, maybe some online play, but that would probably be really hard to do on a 3DS. I don't know anything about developing. I'm sure if that was even possible, they would probably do it for the VR version. And maybe that is a thing. I don't know. I haven't dug really too deep into this yet. I just want to share that this is a really cool experience. It's fun. If you don't really want to buy a Virtual Boy just to experience this, because it is a lot of money to just get a Virtual Boy, let alone get a game for the Virtual Boy. And it's also expensive to get VR, and it's gonna be expensive to get one of these soon. But if you're a Nintendo fan, you probably have one of these. And honestly, the Virtual Boy emulation was probably the most fun I had with this. I mean, Super Hot and NFL Pro Era were fun, but I don't know, just being able to play Virtual Boy in VR, which kind of sounds stupid because Virtual Boy was VR in 1995. I don't know, man. It's cool. You should try it. You do need a modded 3DS for it, but modding a 3DS is very simple nowadays. If I can do it, you can do it, because I suck with software mods. Okay, I'm not talking about you, Mom. You might have a hard time with it, but I think you could do it. But moral of the story is you should try Virtual Boy emulation. It's cool. It's fun. All the cool kids are doing it. Plus, you can change the colors on this one.